Hello everyone, good evening. Yes, it's evening. I'm actually recording this. It's quite late, isn't it? After 8 in the evening. Um, Hello everyone, just wanted to welcome you all to this channel. My wonderful son has yet again supported me this week to make this video, and I'm very, very thankful. Before I go any further, there are a few things I just need to highlight. I've received so much feedback, many telephone calls, text messages, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And I'm really, really pleased that I'm blessing some people with this video. However, I've been advised that the videos are way too long, which is fine. And my aim tonight is to make it much, much shorter. I've been told that I don't need to upload one every week. One a fortnight would probably suffice. So we'll see how that goes. I've also had some feedback about whether or not I should go into more detail about the framework Rise and See. And the feedback has been that most people appear to grasp the concept of Rise and See from what I shared in the last video, and didn't feel that I needed to go into more detail. However, people were really keen to hear about the grounding technique that I made reference to. And so I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. But again, I'm not going to be here very, very long. But I do want to say I have caused a little bit of commotion in my family. My grandchildren cannot understand why I have only referenced Princess. And what I can say is Princess is the only one who has given me feedback. However, I do need to acknowledge all my 6 grandchildren. So bear with me. So I have my Princess her name is Imani Rose. And her siblings are Asani, who I call Tonka. Then there's Namaya, who I call Pumpkin. Then there's Tiara. And then we have Kari. And then we have Kari we call Titi. And we have Kendi Rose. So I just want them to hear their names on this video. Otherwise, I will be skinned alive. Everybody's so opinionated. It's quite frightening that these children are challenging me so boldly and so openly. And I guess in many ways I should celebrate that, shouldn't I? Because they're unashamedly very opinionated and very assertive. So I hope I've done them proud by calling all their names. That said, I've had feedback from Princess, and I had to write it down because she had so much to say. So please excuse me while I use my phone to just read out what she has said to me. And I'll just let you hear this. Princess read back what I had written and actually corrected what I had said, basically saying, Grandma, that's not what I said. So I'll tell you exactly where that came about. So her feedback was that she thought the last video was good because she felt that I shared how I felt about the lady at the end when I was quite emotional. She didn't say quite emotional. She said when I was crying. She said the video made her feel that she wanted to understand better why I was crying. And she felt that it was important to share how I felt. She felt it was important to share how I felt. And she felt that, and I have to read this verbatim because she made me change it. She said that sharing was inspiring because it was courageous and helped other people feel good about themselves. Now, when I wrote this, I said sharing was inspiring because it was courageous and helped others feel good about themselves. She said, no, that's not what she said. She said, and helped other people feel good about themselves. So that's what I had to change it to. And then she said, it makes her feel grateful because other people are okay when they listen to this. So that was really nice to hear. Her brother, Asani, who we call Tonka, said it was great, but it's hard to explain why he felt it was great. And he wanted an explanation about what's a robe of shame. And you remember I gave you an insight into a piece of work that I've done with a parent. And I talked about right to the end of the video, her saying that she wore the robe of shame. So he wanted to understand that better. And he really was keen to know, Grandma, what happened to her little boy? And again, I'm not going to go into detail about the conversations we had about that, but obviously we did have a conversation. So this week, I am going to have to use my phone again to go through what I've written on my phone in notes. I'm really sorry. And just to say, the feedback I also had was about where I was located in my house. And what people felt was the first video was more inviting. It felt like I'd invited people into my front room, and it felt like I was just having a conversation where the others, I think I was in the dining room for the other two. And people felt that this location seemed a little bit more personable. So I've resorted to coming back here. And what people did want to know more about was the grounding technique that I spoke about in terms of moving away from the trauma as much as I could and grounding myself in the present. Now, when I thought about what helped me with my trauma and managing my stress, I really had to think about how do I share that so that it makes sense to others. And I know for those of you who have done any work around grounding and managing trauma and stress, there is the overwhelming one that most people refer to, the sensory method, which is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 one. And basically uh, what that method encourages is you use the 5 senses to ground self in the present. And I can't remember them in order, but basically you have to think of 5 things that you can touch, 4 things that you can feel, 4 things that you can taste, 3 things that you can smell, 2 things that you can feel, that kind of, the 5 senses. And, those 5 um, points each represent one of the senses. And basically what you do, you think about those, and then it grounds you in the present. Now, I'm going to read what I've written here just so it makes a little bit more sense to you. Because although I've written it, I do still need to go over it in terms of emphasizing the importance of staying rooted and present, which are both central to both trauma recovery and stress management. And I've called this framework FLIGHT. And FLIGHT stands for, and let me find where I've written it in notes. Right, so FLIGHT is the first one is the F is the focus on the present. L is listen to your inner voice. I is initiate positive actions. G is grow through your connections. H is honoring your journey. And T is to transform challenges into opportunities. Now, I'm going to go through them all very, very briefly because, like I said, I don't want this to be a very long, drawn-out video. Right, so for me, when I had to think about a grounding technique that supported me in managing the trauma of my mum's passing, when I thought about focusing on the present, I did consider the sensory method, but I wanted something unique to Freedom to Fly, which is my company, something unique to me. And so that's why I came up with FLIGHT, because it aligns with Freedom to Fly, and it aligns with my thinking around moving self from a place of pain that could keep you locked in, keep you immobilized, but moving into a place of your present and trying to think about what did I need to support me with that journey? What did I need to help me transcend from the place of pain to my present, where I'm hoping I'm managing the pain more healthily? So when I talked about focusing on my present, it was really encouraging myself to ground myself in the current moment, to manage the overwhelming feelings of the memories of trauma. And I have to say that I did rely on mindfulness exercises like focusing on my breathing, um, practicing intentional pauses to reduce my level of stress. And I really had to think about what does that mean for me in terms of focusing on the present. And it was really around thinking about what's in my life now, what's surrounding me now that can keep me grounded in the here and now, that can keep me grounded in my present and not revert to the place of despair, the place of pain that I had been walking in for such a long time. And you will be aware by now that my mum has been gone for just over a year now. And it has been an incredibly painful journey. And that's why I felt that I needed something more concrete for self that I could refer to support me in the transition and the flying from the place of pain to a place, hopefully, of healing and recovery and wholeness. So that's what I meant by focusing on the present. For the listening to your inner voice, it was really about promoting self reflection and awareness to connect with my emotions, to think about the triggers and what my needs were. And one of the things I had to start to do was journaling my thoughts and my feelings. And when I thought about triggers, very basic things triggered me. So I would listen to gospel music, and that would be a trigger. There will be certain phrases that I've I hear myself using that my mum used to use, and I'd have to stop myself. Oh my God, that's what my mum used to say. Um, and I had to be cognizant of the impact of that on self and understanding that I needed to reflect on self and to be aware of how I connected with my emotions. And there was a lot of self dialogue, really, because what I also recognized was the need to validate my emotions. I didn't want to run away from the feelings of grief, of, all the stuff you learn about the theory of bereavement. I didn't want to run away from those feelings. But what I wanted to do was to be able to control them. And so I wanted to talk to self about how I validated those emotions. And I think I'd shared with you previously that I also do meditation. And what I found was really helpful for me was just being still. So I do meditate once a week in a center with other people around me. But when I'm at home, there are times when I just want to be still. And I've been fortunate in that I have been home since my mother passed. I've not worked, so I've been at home. And I've been able to, when the house is empty, literally just sit down, relax, and just focus on my breathing and just being still. Sometimes it is just being still with God's word in the background. Sometimes it's just being still with maybe some music, some gospel music playing in the background, very, very low. But it's just being still and reconnecting with self. And that I found really, really positive. Um, the third point was initiate positive actions. And basically, that was around encouraging proactive steps to regain a sense of control, really, a sense of control and purpose to counter the feelings of helplessness that I've been feeling for so long. Now, that might sound like something that I did. Sorry, that my alarm clock keeps going off, reminding me to take my medication. Imagine that. Um, Countering feelings of helplessness, and the helplessness I felt really blindsided me. And And so what I had to do was to set myself very small goals and think about very, very quick wins. And in the early days, a very quick win for me was actually getting out of bed and having a shower and establishing a routine, albeit a very short routine, but just making myself get up, making myself have a shower, and then going downstairs to feed my cats. That was a routine, albeit nothing significant, but for me, it was a quick win because it was something that I could do for self, by myself, and it was something that was easily accessible and it was achievable. So I had to be smart in what I saw as a quick win. And I had to be smart in ensuring that I was able to implement it by myself without relying on others. And so for me, thinking about those positive actions really did encourage me to regain a sense of control and purpose. The fourth point was to grow through my connections. And I think I'd spoken about my dream team and the importance for me of highlighting the importance of building supportive networks and supportive relationships that for me will foster healing and resilience. And I have spoken about my daughters-in-law. I think there are other people that I could mention, my friends Molly, Jackie, Shola, Donna Marie. They're all long-term friends who are spiritual sisters as well. Shola, Molly, and Jackie attend the same church as me. Donna Marie and I have known each other for a very, very, very long time. She's also a psychotherapist who I've done a lot of private work with around parenting. And so they're the people that I default to when I feel that I'm struggling, because there is no judgment, there is no condemnation. It is all about lifting me and holding me. And I trust them implicitly with absolutely anything and everything. And so, one of the things I did write down and I've got written here is participating in support groups and identifying community networks. But actually, I have my dream team. And because I have the outlet of swimming, aqua aerobics, meditation outside of my group, I know that I am building a healthier network that not only focuses on my spiritual health, but my physical and emotional growth as well. So I'm really thankful for that. And that's what I mean by growing through your own networks and your own connections, ensuring your connections are what you need them to be, that your connections will hold you, that your connections will carry you when you're too weary to walk. And I don't mean physically carry you, but there are those days when you just feel that you wake up and there's just this heaviness, there's this dark shadow that seems to cloud everything as you wake up in the morning. And being able just to pick up the phone and say, Shola, I just need to pray. Shola, I just need to have a conversation. Miles, I just need to talk about something. And knowing that those people are readily available to support me is invaluable. And that's what I encourage anyone who's going through what I'm going through to try and do, to try and reach out, to try and identify your own dream team. The fifth thing I wrote down was honoring your journey. And that's really about embracing my personal story and identifying my pains, my triumphs, because what I acknowledge is that they foster growth and resilience. It's really about ensuring that I understand what my experiences mean and put meaning to those experiences. And in those times of stillness where I'm here by myself, I do a lot of writing. And in those moments, it's really writing down, journaling how I felt, but more importantly, what's happened and what I think about what's happened. So it's not just recording, for example, a dream. You record your dream. I record my dream. But what's important for me is putting meaning to that dream. I'm not trying to say that I can put meaning to every dream, but what it means for me in my life at this time in relation to the trauma that I'm walking in. And again, it's celebrating those small wins and acknowledging progress. You know, it's so easy to wear the blanket of pain and stay cocooned in that darkness. But actually, I have to celebrate that I've made so much progress. And I think one of the things I find difficult is celebrating self. But in order for me to fly and use this methodology to move from the trauma and the stress management to acknowledging the trauma, but moving on positively, I have to celebrate those small wins and I have to focus on positives because I know where my mum is. I know what my mum would want for me. And yesterday, I attended a funeral of a very dear friend whose mother also transitioned. And I talk about my dream team, but because of my loss and what I've been through and how I was managing to navigate the journey from that incredible loss to where I feel I am today, I feel more able to support this young woman because, like me, she's broken, absolutely broken. Her mother was her world. And I saw her yesterday, and she was one of the pallbearers. She was actually carrying her mother's coffin. She wanted so much to feel part of everything to do with her mum's transition. And I saw the pain etched on her face. And at the end of the service, I went outside, and when I hugged her, I felt I felt the sense of loss and the helplessness I spoke about earlier. I felt that in that embrace. And whilst I was hugging her, I was praying in her ear. And I'm sure people were looking at us thinking, why is she hugging her for so long? I was literally just praying in her ear and encouraging her because that's what sustained me. And I think I have said before how much my spirituality has sustained me and kept me growing. And I want to encourage her and others just to understand that this pain, the degree of pain doesn't last forever. The pain for me, I don't think it will ever disappear. But I think I've adopted some strategies to healthily manage the pain. And that's what I hope I can offer to this young woman. And so it's no coincidence that I've written this and I'm now able to share it with her because I know God is very strategic in the way he works. And so I'm very, very thankful for that. The sixth and last point is transforming challenges into opportunities. And it's really around how do I teach myself to reframe difficulties and identify them as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. And I think I talk a lot about, you know, allowing yourself to fall, but knowing that the learning is in getting up. And I think there is something about reframing those difficulties so that you change the I can't, I failed, I don't know how to, I've learned something new. And it's interesting, because I tell myself, a couple of days ago, I was going somewhere, I was driving somewhere, and I found myself being quite late. And time for me is really precious. And I have a major issue about lateness and timekeeping. And the fact that I was late going to this appointment really troubled me. But then I had to reframe my thinking from the self-blame from, oh my goodness, and then having to drive fast and being reckless. I literally talked myself out of that state of panic and just kept saying, Lord, whatever it is you're protecting me from, thank you. And I literally had to talk myself into, Bernadette, you're going to be late no matter what you do now. So what do you do to mitigate that? And there were a number of strategies that I adopted, and it was perfectly fine. But it's understanding the problem solving activities to address challenges step by step, and changing the mindset and embracing my ability to adapt and again to be resilient, and just understanding that within every challenge there's an opportunity. And on one of my banners for Freedom to Fly, I have actually got an old African proverb that says, trees with strong roots laugh at storms. And I'm minded of that when I face adversity, because I am grounded. And I know that there are always going to be challenges, externally to self, internally of self. But what I am now very confident of is I have all that I need within me to manage those healthily. And, this flight method that I've identified, and I'm sure there are aspects of it that people will find in other therapeutic methodology elsewhere. It really embodies my company's commitment to providing unique, tailored approaches to trauma and stress management. Because what I want to do is to focus on present awareness, self-reflection, proactive engagement, supportive connections, personal narrative honoring, and transformational thinking. Because in that, it offers me a comprehensive pathway to my healing and self-empowerment. And the whole focus of Freedom to Fly is around enablement, empowerment, transformation, neurodiverse-sensitive, it's trauma-informed, and everything that I deliver for Freedom to Fly, everything that I deliver is a pathway for enhancement. It's a pathway for richer experiences. It's a pathway for better life chances for children. It's a pathway for educating parents. It's a pathway for making the connection between children's lived experiences and parents' ability to function, and what is it that might compromise their ability to function well enough, good enough, to parent their children good enough. And so in time, I'm pretty sure that I will give you an overview of everything that I offer in Freedom to Fly. I think I gave you a snapshot of the programs that I offer, but there's so much more that we offer in Freedom to Fly. And I invite you to have a look at my website, which is www.freedomtofly.uk, which will give you a really in-depth knowledge of what I hope to do, what God has blessed me with, what God has rebirthed in me at this age. And there has been, in the last few months, a lot of interest in the work that I know God has blessed me with, and I'm thankful. And I know this is the beginning. And I always say small steps, big differences. I'm starting small, but I know I have programs that are very, very impactful, that are very, very transformative, very empowering, very enabling. And I make no apology for my passion. I make no apology for my work ethic or my determination to just walk in truth, walk in purpose, because Freedom to Fly was a divine mission that God has blessed me with, has placed on my heart, and that I'm going to be faithful to, I'm going to be obedient to, and I'm going to work hard, because I know the difference those programs can make. So again, www.freedomtofly.uk. Thank you for listening. God bless you.